What's going on, everybody? We are here live at Table Titans. I'm a little solo dolo today, as my boy Pete Barrett likes to say, solo dolo. But here we are. We're on Table Titans on this beautiful Monday evening. We're going to do a quick hitter show today. In the last 2 weeks, we did back-to-back 3-hour-plus shows. So I feel like today, you guys have been clamoring for some of the fights. We've been teasing them. So I'm just going to do, a quick little show today, probably 15, 20 minutes, run down some of these exciting pro fights that we have for you guys, and, just to get it out there. And then starting next week, we'll bring back the guest format and co-host Andy and Cupcakes. I feel a little naked being by myself, so we'll bring them back next week. But for tonight, we're just here to talk March 18th. We're here to talk fights and kind of break down this crazy card that we have for you guys. So though Andy's not here, wouldn't be right if we didn't start us off with a cheers. Cheers, everybody.
Hey, Mike, before you get too far along,
yeah.
turn down the volume on the TV, buddy. Mute the TV.
All right, here we go. Look at that. All right, I'll mute the TV so you didn't hear anybody. Sorry for the little echo problem, but like always, before I get into some things, I do want to share this out, so now would be a good time to share it out so that we can get some viewers and let them see what we got going on. I'll share it on my phone. Let's see what I got here. All right. So real quick recap for the weekend. We had the comedy night here at Coops Bar and Grill. Huge success. If you didn't come and you're a Cage Titans fan, this was the spot to be. It had a bunch of your, am I wearing pants? Yes, I am wearing pants. Rob Pico. I can't lift my leg that high. There you go. You can see it. Actually, that didn't help. I do have shorts. You know my outfit. My outfit is always shorts and a sweatshirt in the winter and shorts and a T-shirt in the summertime. But, so those who couldn't make it to the comedy show was a huge hit this weekend. And there was a ton of fighters. If you're Cage Titans fans, it's always cool to see what fighters are going to come. Don Shanus was here ahead of his big UFC fight in Australia going on at the end of the month. Actually, the beginning of next month. Shanus was here. Chris Motino was here. Remo Cottarelli. Trevor the Scarecrow Goody. Andrew Jacobs. Connor Matthews. Jared DeGangi, a Muay Thai fighter for Cage Titans. So as they say, the Cage Titans stars were out. So we definitely had a great comedy show. Next one's going to be February 25th. So if you want to attend, make sure you get your tickets ahead of time. We actually had to turn some people away at the door. So it was definitely a crazy night, to say the least. We had a lot of fun. But yeah, man. So tonight, like I said, it's going to be a real quick hitter. Just kind of go over some fights, talk a little bit about the fights going on, and talk about March 18th. So and then next week, if you're looking to get on the show, make sure you reach out to myself or producer Joe. We'd love to start getting the guests going on. So we're going to get that going next week. Shout out. Sounds great now. LOL is great. Now let's talk beer sponsor. Beer sponsors. 42nd Parallel. I had a great meeting with them this past week. As you see, it is called the Lightweight Pilsner. They are going to reconstruct the formula, and it's going to be a lager on the lines of a Bud Light for March 18th. One of the big things that we felt like Pilsners, real beer drinkers might know what it is, but some people are like, what's a Pilsner? And so we're going to go to lightweight lager. It's going to be right along the lines of like a Coors Light, Miller Light, Bud Light, to really appeal to those Bud Light drinkers that come to the fights, because we sell a shit ton of Bud Light. But what's better than selling Bud Light? Sell our Cage Titans lightweight lager. So there you go. What else do we got going on? So I had a great meeting with them. They actually are starting brewing tonight, actually, for that show. So they're already starting the process, though we're 7 weeks out. That's how long it takes to brew a beer. Joe, those messages on the screen are not showing, so let's just skip that for today. They're just showing up blank. But anywho, so fights. You guys are here for fights. That's what I know you want. And we've been releasing some. We've been doing a lot of those teaser posts. I think last week we talked about Joe Penafiel versus John Duma for the bantamweight title. Humongous fight. Everybody was so stoked about that fight. The return of the party, and honestly, the return of Duma. Duma hasn't fought for us since 2016, and that guy was never in a boring fight. I think I talked about it on my Instagram live on Thursday. He's probably number 1 or number 2 for the most exciting fight in Cage Titans history. You could either go with him versus Rossi as the best fight in Cage Titans history, or you could probably go with Chris Snyder versus Chris O'Brien. So those are the 1 and 2 slots. So Duma, super stoked to have him back. I think on Instagram live. So here's another little shameless plug. If you're not tuning in on Tuesdays, TikTok Tuesdays, we do a live every Tuesday at noon, about 12 minutes. It's myself and Ken Roy. We do that on TikToks every Tuesday. And then my own personal segment, we do Instagram on Thursdays, the 12 at 12 on Thursday. And it's me just kind of ranting and raving for about 12 minutes, dropping all kinds of snippets of what's going on. So we did announce, I think we announced, and if I didn't, well, here you go. Peter Barrett is taking on Mo Al-Kanani out of Evolution. This fight is a certified banger. Both guys just love to trade. They're both, it's funny, Peter Barrett's model is highly calculated violence. This weekend, Mo had up a status, highly calculated violence. And I think it was a little bit of a dig at Peter, but also it's like, it's just so true. That's a guy's style. That guy is a killer. Early in his career, 5-1, but I think he was like 8-1 as an amateur. And Peter Barrett, when we were making the fight, he's like, is that this kid? And he kind of described Mo. And he's like, he always mean mugs me. And I had to stop Pete right there. I said, Mo kind of mean mugs everybody. Yeah, he might want to fight you, Pete, but like he just mean mugs everybody. But either way, Mo Al-Kanani is taking on Peter Barrett. Shout out to the party. I see the party's watching. We just talked about him. And don't worry, the party is a party animal. Yes, he is fighting this weekend, but he doesn't care. He called me. We reached out. He talked to me about it. He said he's all in for March 18th. Don't worry, the fiesta is coming March 18th. But you guys who know the party, he dances to his own drum. So he's like, listen, I know I got to fight with Duma. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I had an opportunity to fight this weekend. And you know me, I love the fight. So he's taking a short notice fight. So good luck to him this weekend, but the party will be back. We all need some party back in our life. Another fight we haven't announced yet. Pat Gilbride is making his return to the cage, and he is taking on Matt Denning. This fight should be fun because both guys are, highly skilled grapplers. Matt Denning, professional fighter, over 25 fights. He fought on our last event, and then 6 days later, he fought out in California. He's taken he's probably taken the next month and a half off, he said, from competing, so he can solely focus on this fight with Pat Gilbride. So I think he went 2-2 last year. Then he stumbled in this, the last fight for us, and then he lost the week later. So he's like, I'm going to focus on Gilbride and make sure I'm ready to go and, give the fans what they want. So Pat Gilbride taking on Matt Denning. Another fun fight. I think we might have announced it. I'm not really sure. So again, stop me if I have, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. Jeff Joy taking on Carl Langston. Jeff Joy has been out of the cage for probably about a half a year, tending to some injuries. He was scheduled to fight Will Smith, then fell off through an injury. Then he was scheduled again, but the injury didn't heal. So it might actually be almost a year before Jeff Joy competed. Why this fight excites me is plain and simple. Carl Langston's been in my inbox for a good 2 years asking for the opportunity to come to Cage Titans. Come to Cage Titans and compete in our cage, and specifically asking to compete against Jeff Joy, amongst a few others. So now here's his opportunity to step into Cage Titans for the first time. And he's doing so with a monster of a fight, but that's just kind of who Carl Langston is. He doesn't take easy fights. He wants to challenge himself with the best fights. So Carl Langston taking on Jeff Joy, and that's just kind of my kind of fight. Like, you know what you wanted, Carl. You asked for it. You were persistent. And in some people that live in the protect your record type phase in the world of this sport, like, you are definitely not one of them. You only want to challenge yourself with the best. And I think you're going to have a tough fight here with Jeff Joy. And I think Jeff's in it for a tough fight with you, because when you got a man who knows what he wants and is motivated, that's a scary thing. You've had this guy's name on the tip of your tongue for a while now, so I know you're preparing for him. So I'm excited for Carl Langston versus Jeff Joy. Yeah, Phil, I didn't lower the mic. I'm just a very loud talker. I yell all the time. So I'm just trying to lower my octave. What else we got? Another good fight I'm pretty stoked about, staying in the 35-pound range. Andrew Valdina, the Gladiator, he released his T-shirts today. They're super fire. The Fighting Irish with the Gladiator helmet on. So War Valdina, he's returning on St. Patrick's Day weekend, taking on Mike Taylor out of New York. Mike is just a monster. Mike's another one of those guys who never takes easy fights. He's just like, give me your toughest, and I'm going to bring the fight to him. He actually just boxed this past weekend, a really close split decision. Many of would say that if he was the hometown guy, he should have got the nod. That's just sometimes how boxing works. We all know it. Sorry, boxing. But yeah, either way, Mike Taylor is making his return to take on Andrew Valdina. My question, how are regional fighters able to be so much more active than UFC fighters? Man, I don't know, honestly. Like, I think, all right, I'll take a minute for the question. So Andrew Mack's question was, how are the regional fighters able to be so much more active than the UFC fighters? I really think it boils down to, they're on the come up of their career, so they're trying to fight as often as they possibly can to get to the UFC. You never have to get ready for a fight if you're always in the gym training. And I know that a lot of these regional fighters are. Like, this is their life. They're really, putting that grind in to get their skills and to be able to compete. And time is money when you're in the regional scene. Like, we all know, I'm a nice guy, but they're not getting rich off fighting for cage signs. None of us are. Well, I work full time. The regional scene is not where the money is. You need to get in, get active, increase your skills, and make yourself marketable to the UFC. And I think that these guys are just doing that. You asked that question around Andrew Valdina. Andrew Valdina is just like every fight card. And quick story, I guess, from what I hear, he didn't tell me, but, he said, I think I'm going to take some break. He told his coach he was going to take a little break after, the year he had, plus, coming out 2-0 as a pro. And pretty much the following week he was in the gym and was like, I changed my mind. I want it on March 18th. So that's what I guess I would say, is that these guys are just hungry and they know they have a destination to get to. And I think that when you get to the UFC, there's a lot more on the line because you're there. And then there's also there's a lot more that goes into the preparation, I think. A lot more into the game planning. I hear sometimes regional fighters, and I don't care who I'm fighting. I'm just fighting because, and I just want to fight and compete, and I want to believe in my skills to get me there. I think when you have high-level opponents in the UFC, every move is calculated. Every fight camp is geared to something different. So maybe that might have to do it. So I said I was going to do a quick show, but you asked me the question, so I had to get in there. Is the walkout arch big enough for the party? I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. But I would like to ask that question to fighters, man. Why do you think you guys stay active? I'm sure Valdina could give us his answer, because he did go through the quick moment of, I think I want to take the card off, and then he quickly came back. Anyways, moving on. Joe Poria is making his long-awaited professional debut. He is taken on Seth Bassler at 125. So Seth Bassler, actually, he fought Valdina last show, and he had no weight cut at all, coming in at 135. And he said, you know what, some of these guys just a little better wrestler, a little better, bigger than me. And he said, I think without cutting weight to get to 35, I'm always the smaller guy. So maybe I should dip my toes in the water down at 125. And Joe Poria is a guy who loves to stand and trade, long, rangy guy at flyweight. So he welcomes this challenge. So I'm expecting some fireworks in that fight. What else are we going to do? Exactly. Pat Gilbert. I mean, Pat, aren't you an engineer? I'm sure you have other more important things to do than getting in fist fights. But, it's, yeah, man, I appreciate it. I think I hit the nail. I appreciate it, Valdina. But, yeah, man, they got places to go. So they don't have time to dick around on the local scene. They need to improve their skills as quickly as possible and try to market themselves to get to that next level. The window closes because, as you know, in the UFC, they have applications at 18 to 30 for the Ultimate Fighter, Contender, and stuff like that. So if you're over that age, you're not even going to get an opportunity to compete for the chance to get to the UFC. And then ultimately it comes down to time and money. I guarantee you in the NFL, or other sports, there's players that are in their 30s that are better than players that are in their 20s, but the longevity of that they'll get out of that guy who's 22 years old. Yeah, maybe that 32-year-old guy is better than the 22, but they're going to get 10 years out of that 22-year-old guy. So it's kind of like that with the UFC too. You know, you get in that 32, they think they might get 3-4 years out of you, but they get some guy who's not as good as you, but he's 23, and they're going to get another 12 years if they market, and this guy's trajectory of his skill level goes on the continuation path to the top. I mean, it just makes sense why, time is money, and you got to get in, you got to make yourself marketable, you got to increase your skill level, you got to be active. But I feel that way in the UFC as well, but they might know something I don't. You got to sell these hockey jerseys, man. These are one of a kind. Anybody who knows me, I'm very into, like, you had to be there or we move on and you'll never see it again. Like our t-shirt combinations, like once we make those shirts at an event, so you're at Cage Titans 57, if you see somebody wearing that shirt, they got it at Cage Titans 57. That's it. Those fighter shirts, I hold those near and dear. That those fighters, like you see that colorway and that scheme and that says fighter on the back. The only way you got that shirt is if you fought on that card. No other way you got that. So I would love to sell those, but that's a one-time thing that will forever live on my wall. So maybe a different version we could do. Next up, getting lost a little bit. Colin Robinson is making his pro debut. We actually hinted at him today on Instagram. Superman, as they call him. And I think he was, what did we call him? Like, I think he thanked his mom, or he said hi, mom, in his post-fight interview when he won a Muay Thai title, our first ever Cage Titans Muay Thai title, when he beat Lamont Payne at 185. He is returning, and I might need to stand up to announce this fight because I cannot believe this fight is happening. Colin Robinson is taking on Tommy Lee Davis out of Sid Yotong. Why this fight gets me out of my seat and gets me stoked is that Colin Robinson was like 5-1 as an amateur. He's making his pro debut. I offered some names, and basically his management team was just like, listen, we know we got a hot hand. We know Colin is talented, and we don't want to dick around. We don't want to take a couple layup fights. We want harder. Like, they were probably one of the first teams that ever said to me, yeah, get us somebody harder. And I was like, oh, it's like that. Okay. And Tommy Lee Davis actually helped him, and Sean Lally helped Colin get ready for his title fight. And kind of the thought process on his side was like, oh, you sure he's really going to take that fight? Because like we were in the gym with him, helping him get ready, and quickly came back with a yes. And there you have it. Tommy Lee Davis, a devastating striker out of Sid Yotong. He's fought for us before as an amateur, I believe once or twice as a pro. Comes with a 2-1 record. No easy route to the pros here. Colin Robinson taking off, a big step up in his pro debut. So shout out to Colin Robinson taking that fight in his pro debut. And also I'm excited to see what Tommy Lee Davis has been up to. He's probably been out of the cage for 3 or 4 years, but he was a highly touted amateur who came up through the ranks with like Fabio Chiron around the same time, Sean Lally. And then he's taking a little bit of time off. And I don't know if it was intended to be time off or kind of not a lot of people were willing to fight Tommy because he's a fucking tough kid. And so here we go. We finally got a fight that I'm pretty stoked about. Next up, the return of Captain America. This is another fight I'm super pumped. Another one of those, like, don't ask for easy fights. Jerry Muse, 2-0 out of Sid Yotong, taking on Jake Hixenbaum out of Bone MMA. And he's 2-0 as well. 2 undefeated pros, super early in their career. They're both only 2-0. But again, this is one of those fights that they could have waited a little bit longer to kind of match up, or they could be 2 high-level prospects that never crossed their paths at the regional promotion. But here they are. They're like, dude, I want to test myself, and I cannot wait to see them in Fight Night. And I hope you fans enjoy that, because I do see a lot of times people, there's been a lot of debate, and I'm not, I don't comment on it much, but obviously I see the chatter like, oh, well, what's the perfect road to the UFC? That's been a huge talk and debate lately amongst amongst MMA community here in the region. And it's like, well, do you fight easy fights to get there and then find out when you get there if you have what it takes to be there? Or do you take tough fights on the local level and the cream rises to the top? When you get there, you know you belong. We've seen both paths happen. We've seen both paths succeed, and we've seen both paths fail. So I really don't know. I think it really comes down to the individual fighter and what's best for them individually. And I mean, that this is a great fight. I mean, Jay Kixenbaum out of Bone MMA, undefeated 2-0, taking an undefeated 2-0 Jerry Muse. So fans, you're in for a treat on this one. Couple more pro fights that we have not talked about. The meat grinder, and I always hate it. She every time I've known about this fight for a couple weeks, but I haven't said it publicly. And she's been in my inbox every time. She's like, "You didn't mention me," and I'm like, I just hate jinxing women fights. But Christina Katsikas is finally making her return back to Cage Titans, taking on Carolyn Biskup. These two were supposed to fight before, then Carol fell off a roof at her barn, at her farm or whatever. She's from like the Midwest, I believe, and she busted her arms. And that's a true story. I got pictures and everything. She fell off the roof of her barn, and the fight didn't happen. And she reached out. She actually retired since then from fighting. And like probably about a month ago, I got reached out to by her management and was like, "Hey, listen, you know, she's interested in fighting." And I said, "Well, I thought she retired." And she goes, "Well, she felt that she owed you and Cage Titans and Christina Katsikas that fight that was scheduled for before." So she said before she really retires, she thought she owed it to everybody to do this fight. So I'm pretty pumped up to see that fight take place. So KK, the meat grinder, is back taking on Carolyn Biskup. Another fight that is another one like that Jerry Muse versus Kixenbaum and the Robinson versus Tommy Lee. Another fight that's kind of that same type of fight. Like, holy shit, early in the career, we're going to get to see these fights. Daniel Mola out of the UFC gym, 1-0 as a pro, was undefeated as an amateur. He's making his return, taking on Orelvis Hernandez. I wish Andy was here because he probably hammered that name. Orelvis, Orelvis. So Elvis, I don't know. But this kid is a stud. He's undefeated as amateur. He's coming up from New Jersey, I believe. I believe he might be John Perezma's teammate, but this kid's a stud on the ground himself, and it's in his pro debut, and he was just like, "Yeah, who do you got? I want your toughest guy at 185, 205. Let's go." I mentioned Mola, and I was like, "Yeah, man, the only one I got at that weight is this guy," and it was immediately, "Yeah, we'll take that." Oh, okay. I will say this card had a lot of those. Or Elvis. Thank you, Amanda. So like this fight card definitely has some of these fights that like I normally wouldn't pitch to guys, but hats off to these fighters because like times might be changing that they're willing to, they want to take these tough fights and they want to test these selves because like under normal circumstances, you got an undefeated amateur prospect and you got this 1-0 black belt, beast. It's like, man, they'll never take that fight. I'm not even going to waste my breath. This fight card actually was one of these scenarios where I might have to change that line of thinking and just be like, yeah, I'm just going to stop mentioning fights and people are going to take it. So if that's the case, we're in for a treat in 2023. What else do we got? Man, I think I just went over. What did I go over? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 pro fights that I just went over. That's a lot. And I have not mentioned yet Trevor Goody, who I'm waiting to confirm. There's a matchup offer out there. Johnny Cupcakes Campbell, where there is an offer out there already. And Aaron Hughes, who we have an offer out there as well. So we're at 13 pro fights, and we have 3 more that we're looking to solidify. So we're going to be up to 16 pro fights when it's all said and done. Man, what do you guys think I should do? That's a lot of pro fights. It's a lot of fights. And I haven't even started matching the amateurs yet. I mean, we already announced Brett Layton versus Teddy Politis for an amateur title. I can tell you Will Asia and Nico Mavromides is going to be a Muay Thai fight. Screw it, I'm feeling extra froggy today. I was going to give you some more fights. So those are 2 amateur fights. Man, we got Steve Hill taking on Timmy Walsh, 170 amateur fight. Timmy Walsh was knockout of the year candidate. Steve Hill, Craig Marston fight. Go back and watch that fight. Bananas. We got an amateur heavyweight title fight that will probably be on the line. Man, we got a lot of stuff going on. So, yeah, Phil, you might already ruined it. But yeah, I think it might be time to do a doubleheader again. You know, if you guys know me, I'm always up for like kind of crazy ideas and just kind of spur of the moment. And, you know, as I sat back, another thing that I hate to do is churn fighters away. I've always felt super strong that if you want to fight for Cage Titans, that I want to make a spot for you to fight. And when people give me names and, you know, when they give me names, it's just like, dude, hella high water. I'm going to try to. If you want to be a part of the Cage Titans community, you want to be a part of the Cage Titans family, you know, we're going to find a spot for you. So I think this is probably one of those special occasions. We haven't done it since the Cage Titans 50, but I think the time is right. St. Patty's Day weekend. I know I'm corny as hell. I am a dad, so I'll give you my dad joke. They always joke around like you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. But you can't watch fights all day if you don't start in the morning. Cage Titans doubleheader, St. Patty's Day weekend, day-night doubleheader. Throw it on your calendars now. And you just listen to the 15 minutes that I gave you some of these pro fights. I promise you guys are going to be in for a treat. So, yeah, man, Saturday, March 18th. We got it. You know, you want to watch fights on St. Patty's Day weekend, you got to go nowhere else except tune into Cage Titans. It will be, there you go, Rob. I can drink all day. Rob will drink all day, and he will probably be watching fights all day. Yeah, man. So it's okay. I'm surprised Mike didn't leak it. Yeah, man. I might have sprinkled the leak out a little bit like that, like a little here and there. But yeah, man. So I'm stoked about it. I mean, in all seriousness, you know, some of these names that I went over on the pro ranks. I would say this, if you ever want to feel what it's like to be me one day, let's go over those 15 fights or so, 16 pro fights, and you tell me which ones I should have not booked. You tell me which ones I should have said to these guys, hey, sorry, man, I know you want to fight. I know I got a guy for you, but I don't want to do it because I'm only going to limit what we do to 5 or 8 pro fights. Even if I limited it to 10 pro fights, I would have still been left cutting off 6 pro fights. So if anybody wants to know some of my struggles and my team that hates me, that they're always like, Mike, stop booking fights, or Mike, don't do this. I'll just say the same thing to you. I say to them, you tell me what fights could go. Tell me what fights I should take off. And then I'll either probably argue with you that I shouldn't take it off, or I'll say, what do you do then? You know, you want to see them all. Do I tell somebody they have to wait till the May 27th card? No. What do I do? Well, that's what we're going to do. March 18th, day-night doubleheader. Just like Cage Titans 50, it's going to be a blast. It will be on Spectation Sports for both events. There will be tickets. It will be 2 separate events. I think what we'll probably do, I have to finish matching the amateur fighters. And once I do, I can't give you many more details whether it might be our first time ever an all-pro card at night and then a pro-am during the day. I could lean towards that. But then again, I know that there's some amateurs coming from a little further away with a pro, so they kind of want to be on the same card as their pro because of the distance. So I can just tell you this. We're making slots for everybody, and we're going to fill up 2 cards for you. And probably in the next week or so, we'll be able to let you know. I'm hoping by the end of this week, we'll be able to let you know what lineup is going to be for each of those cards. So there'll be 2 cards, 2 events. You know, there you go. You can already tell everybody, my team, you can tell who my team is. Tyler Pimentel flipping me off, and Phil. I say to this, I said the same thing to Tyler. I go, guess what? You set the damn cage up once. What's the difference? Sounds pretty easy to me. I said, yeah, it's a little harder on me. It's a little harder on, you know, the social media team having to friggin' now post about 32 fights. And that means, 16 fights on each, 32 fights, and that means 64 fighters. Like how do we post about them all and promote them all? We'll figure that out. I don't care. We'll figure that out. That's it, man. So there you go. If you want to watch fights that weekend, you got one place to go. But we'll also let you watch the Usman versus Leon Edwards fight over in London, because that's gonna be a good one. And more than likely, I don't know what the time frame is, so maybe we'll try to plan the cards. My goal is probably like a 1 to 4, kind of like you go into an afternoon Patriots game, 1 to 4, stack a nice little card right there, and then come back at like 7:30 to 11 for the night card, kind of like a day-night doubleheader baseball game, or you come into a football game at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, you love me, man. It's not love for me. It's love for these damn fighters. Like, as I said, I will. Anybody who wants to inbox me, I'll give you a Word document with all these fighters that gave me their names, and then you tell me what fighters I should tell to go pound sand that I don't have a spot for them. It's not easy. It's not easy. So, what's easier? Just adding this damn show. So also Phil Grenier, I'll leave you with this. 7 to 2 a.m. Well, let's be real, and real quick, I'll get back to Phil in a minute. Why I like this idea is just so you know, like when we budget it for 2 shows, that means 2 shows, 2 pays for all of our people, all the staff. It means 2 pay for all the commission members and the deputies and all the people that are behind the scenes that make these events work. Back in the day, if you've been around for a while, there used to be like mega cards with like 24 fights on one night. And what ends up happening is that these guys and your workers have to work for 24 fights, and they get 1 pay for the day, for their 1 event pay. But when the commission actually came to me the first time when we did Cage Titans 50 and said, hey, we want you to just put all the fights on 1 show and just do 1 event. And I was like, well, okay, but you don't understand. Like, a referee who gets paid $250 for an event, like, there's 22 fights if I do it all in one night. They're getting $250 for 22 fights. If I split it and do 10 and 12, they're getting $250 for the fight they do 10, and they're doing $250 for the fight they do 12. They're getting double the pay because they're doing, 2 shows. And like, well, I guess when you put it like that, we'll do it. So like, our staff, this is also a way to make sure our staff is fairly compensated for the amount of work that they put in. Our staff, the police details, the ambulances, the doctors, the RAFs, it's really best for everybody. So that's why we also do that as well, as opposed to doing, 1 event, because people are getting 1 event pay and they're doing a shit ton of work. Phil mentioned China says our new light rig is in. Yes. So we bought the lighting truss, if you guys have recognized that, obviously. And we bought all of our own lights probably about 2 months ago. And they're coming from China via sea shipping. And as you know, shipping is a nightmare. So for the last 2 events, we've been renting lights, even though we paid, what was it, Phil, 12 grand, something crazy like that for all these lights that come from China. And we were hoping they would be there for January. We still had the rent. But it seems like in the next 4 to 7 days, they will be on land and at our production head, Phil Renier's house, so we can set them up and do a rough run and get that all set for March 18th. I said 15 minutes. I think I definitely went over 15 minutes. Hopefully I gave you guys a lot to watch tonight. Shout out to Andy, who did a killer job at the comedy show. He's home relaxing and resting up. Shout out to Johnny Cupcakes, my other normal co-host. He's holding it down. I told him, I was like, listen, man, if you don't want to come to the show, I'm just going to ramble for 15 minutes, talk fights, and get in and get out. But nothing I ever do is quick. So, shoot, yeah, I'm doing it for you guys. On my phone while driving, fuck out the window. Yeah, there you go. So, man, yeah, listen, unbelievable. I hope you guys are excited as I am. I'm trying to do my low octave voice because my sound guy, Phil, is saying I'm yelling into the mic. So I hope you guys enjoy it. March 18th. I have not, that's the other reason I didn't want to do a long show, because I did not finish designing the poster. I'm hoping to finish that up tonight. So I want to get off air so I can go finish up the design, hopefully release the poster design, and then also release matchup cards all this week, get tickets out in people's hands. We have the VIP booths. I've already had a couple people hit me up. There's only 2 available for each show. So if you have somebody that wants that VIP booth, let us know ASAP. We're probably not going to do a hall pass early entry just because the day-night doubleheader. So that was a huge hit last time, and we will be bringing that back. But, if we get out of there at 4 for that daytime show, by the time we clean, break everything down, we're not going to be able to open the doors 2 hours before 7. It's just going to be impossible. So we won't be doing the early birds. Yeah, yeah. So that's what's going on. What else do I got going on? The hope is that Spectation Sports will have gambling for the March show as well. I know that gambling, sports betting is going live, I think, this week in Massachusetts. So I passed that information along to our partners at Spectation, and with hopes that we're going to get it live and up and running for March 18th. I see Regiment Boys Kells on there. We're looking for Muay Thai fights. I mentioned Nico Mavromidas versus Will Asia, but we have room for a few more. My last call to action. Little Glove Muay Thai. Sean Schubert is waiting to, I'll just say this to fire you up. He's waiting to kick someone's ass in the Cage Titans cage with Little Glove, MMA Glove Muay Thai. Any MMA fighter or any Muay Thai fighter that wants to answer his challenge, he wants to be the first in Massachusetts to compete in MMA Glove Muay Thai. We got this approved before COVID. And unfortunately, we just haven't had anybody. Like, we've had one guy say yes, but then his opponent's like, no, I want boxing gloves. But there you have it, man. Sean Schubert's been up my butt asking me every event, you got anybody? So here's my challenge to you guys. If you're looking to fight MMA glove, stand-up only, Muay Thai, Sean Schubert is your dance partner. I think probably like 145 to 155. He's just willing to do it. He's rip-roaring ready to go. He did get the opportunity to compete in MMA glove Muay Thai up in Vermont, but he lives probably 20, 25 minutes from Memorial Hall, Sean Schubert, that is. He competed on Cage Titans 2. He competed for us through his MMA career. He wants to show the sport off in all its glory at Cage Titans at Memorial Hall, March 18th. So there's the challenge. If anybody wants to willing to step in there as a pro, let me know and let's do it. So just a reminder about gambling. It is public. Anyone can see who's gambling. For example, referee, judge, a fire, corner that's on fights is public information. Yeah, well, I think that goes without saying. And when we talked about this before, we did make a little disclaimer that we do not allow, just like the UFC, fighters, corners, anybody associated with you are not allowed to gamble. Will Asia is back, taking on the Greek Lion, Nico Mavromidas, winner of Muay Thai Fight of the Year. Get at your boy, Regiment. Yep, I got you. New brew, somebody asked. It's dangerous. Thank you, Steve, Captain Obvious. I think everybody knows what's going on with James Krause and that whole stuff. So, new brew. Somebody asked me about a new brew. Oh, shit, I forgot Joe Giannetti is also going to be on the card. I didn't announce his fight, but he will be competing. We're kind of finalizing his title defense. New brew. So I mentioned that I met with 42nd Parallel this past week. They are changing from the lightweight Pilsner to a lightweight lager, which is going to kind of like rival the Bud Light, Miller Light. Because my big thing to them is like second win, amazing. Everybody loves IPAs, and it's been hugely successful for the past year and a half we've been doing it. But it is a 6.5, and when you're there 5-6 hours drinking, it'd be nice to have like a little lower ABV. And we do have a lot of Bud Light drinkers, at the event. So their niche is going to be more that easy drinking, like the Bud Light type crowd stuff. And Second Wind's going to continue to deliver those amazing IPAs. So yeah, maybe we'll get Second Wind to do a hazy IPA. There you have it. I don't think I have any more. People text me if you can't hear it. But I think that's all I got to get to today. 15 minutes turned into 40. But as you know, I love this shit, man. And, I love talking to you guys. I love talking fights. And we will be back next week with the full crew. Johnny, maybe we'll have Johnny's opponent to announce. We'll have Andy back. We'll have the whole crew here. We'll be having guests call in. Any guests, I don't care who you are, pro, amateur, whatever. We want to hear your story. We want to hear, more than hey, this fighter's 4-2 and this guy's, 2-1. Like, we want to hear more than that. We want to get to know the fighters behind the scenes, what's going into their matchup, why they wanted to take a particular matchup, all that fun stuff. So if you're around and you want to be a part of Table Titans, it's real simple. Just reach out. We'll get you on the show. We're going to try to book 3 guests every week from here on out. We have 6 weeks to go before fight night. So that means out of the 60 damn fighters we're going to have between the 2 cards, we'll get 18 out of the 60 on. Every Tuesday I do TikTok Tuesday live 12 at 12 with Kin. But on Thursday, I do have slots open on Thursday for the 12 at 12 on Instagram. If you want to get on Instagram live with me every Thursday at 12 o'clock, just kind of drop us a DM. And when I go live, it's as simple as hitting invite. When I hit invite, you get brought in and we can chop it up about your fight. That's it, man. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, listening to me. As you can tell, we got a lot of good things brewing for March 18th. Brewing. That's I didn't know if that was a pun. That's just a dad joke. Brewing beers. St. Patty's Day. I'm going to keep rambling. Goodbye, everybody. Good night. We'll see you next week. Actually, tomorrow on TikTok Tuesday. Joe, you got something for me? Hold on. I'm going to turn your sound up, Joe. What do you got for me, bro? I can't hear a word you're saying.
All right. Everybody can hear me now.
There we go. I hear you, Joe. What's up, bro?
Hey, we're going to send everybody out with a hype vid. We got Red Eye Movies. Everybody's
great.
everybody's going to love it.
All right, man. Thank you so much. And there you go. Have a good one, Joe.